Let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Steve Wooledge. I'm with Alation, and I'll be your host today. I run product marketing here at Alation, and we'll be talking about building data products for business impact. And I'm super delighted to have Nathan on cue, jump on stage with me. We're going to be talking about best practices that Nathan has seen from Kenvue, where he is the lead analyst for the data catalog. Nathan has been with Kenvue for a couple of years and has held data engineering roles in the past at Coleridge Initiative as well as New York University. And just super excited to have him here. We actually met last fall as part of our customer advisory board in New York City, where we're getting a lot of input from our customers on the next of our products, the vision and where we're going. And Nathan was very articulate and very engaged in the conversation around how we bring the catalog forward and implement data products in a meaningful way. So really appreciate, Nathan, you coming on to share your knowledge and experience over the past couple of years today. So before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping items. We will be recording today, so you will get the full recording and slides available to you. We also have a Q&A panel in the presentation today. So as we go, if you have questions, please go ahead and type those in. I may pull some of those as Nathan's talking, if it's relevant, just to keep Nathan on his toes. And we'll also have time at the end for Q&A. And if we don't get a chance to get to everything, we'll follow up with you as well. The other thing I would point out is as we go today, Nathan's going to be sharing some screenshots and getting into some detail. So if you want to see it in full screen to see that detail, there is a full screen option in your viewer panel that you should be able to click. And so with that, let's talk about the topics and the flow for today. I'm going to kick off with just 5 minutes on setting the context around data products, the trends that we're seeing in the market. We've got a little poll for the audience, and then I'll turn things over to Nathan, who will have the majority of the time to talk about his experience in data cataloging across a number of different companies and products and where he's going with Kenvue in terms of that evolution towards data products, and then ultimately data product marketplaces and how we materialize and deliver data as a product to consumers, both end users as well as business applications. And I'll talk a little bit about how to get started on that journey, and then we'll go into Q&A from there. So let's just set a little bit of context. I've been in the industry for over 20 years in data analytics, and the mission has really never changed. It's about how do we leverage data to deliver more business value. And there's been a lot of evolution in how that happens. And of course, with the advent of AI, there's been a lot of acceleration of how we can deliver data to end user consumers. And right now, we really see this need for speed across data teams. Because of the promise of AI, we are expected to be more productive, drive more business value more quickly. And you can see some of the stats here in terms of the early adopters of AI are seeing revenue gains. I think all of us by now have been using AI in our day-to-day jobs, and that expectation to deliver faster and better is there. And there's a competitive pressure that a lot of the customers I talk to where they don't want to get outmaneuvered by other competitors in their industry where they may have a better chat interface on the website or other types of applications that can be data-driven and trying to get those agentic applications built quickly. At the same time, there's still a lot of pressure on us as data and analytics leaders to make sure that we're effectively meeting and showing the demonstrable value of the data products that we're delivering. And you can see a stat here that only 35% of those leaders are doing that very well today from Gartner in the latest CDAO survey. So what we're really seeing is this paradox or conflict between speed and trust. Because on the one hand, as we've looked at, and all of us have probably been in these decentralized teams, you know you can move a lot faster, you can get those reports or applications up, but sometimes there's a lack of data quality, or how many people have had multiple versions of a report where the data from the report is slightly different, something's off. So it can lead to erroneous results, but also redundant effort. And then many times there may be policies around how to use that data that get overlooked and not put into place. So that's on the one hand, trying to be fast. And then if you look at centralized approaches, yes, you have strong governance, you get all the pristine data in the right columns and formats. And I've talked to customers that could take 6 months to get new tables introduced to the data warehouse to deliver a certain business report. And that certainly slows down delivery and frustrates users, but you've got all the controls and the trust in place. So there's really this trade-off that we want to try and get through. And I think if you look at the industry and different things that have come out, such as things like the App Store for Apple, or look at Amazon, no one better in terms of how they're delivering data or products, right? And if we think about being able to balance speed and trust, these are good frameworks to think about in terms of how these companies have scaled. So as a data leader, as you think about how you're delivering data as a product and treating it like a consumer product where you have the ratings, you can get feedback from the users, and you can federate the creation of data as a product, but maintain controls and standards within your marketplace, such as what Amazon and Apple do, that really gives you the ability to innovate faster with that federated approach where teams can move quickly, but stay within the guardrails and be able to scale. And just the example of Amazon is they've got over 60% of their sellers now are independents or individuals, but you and I as consumers don't know or care because we just know it's going to show up on time. I'm going to be able to get reviews. I've got all the descriptions of those products. So that's really the way forward. And data products is the way that we're seeing a lot of our customers go forward on. And this was one of the top topics at our customer advisory board, which is how do we create products of data that are reusable so that you have that scalability. It's addressing multiple use cases in a consistent way so that you can deliver it faster. That's some of the results that HBR has pointed out. They're governed by design for not only the end users, but the AI applications, which we'll talk more about, which can reduce cost. And then it's purpose-built and aligned very closely for business impact, which is a key piece of innovation that IDC has pointed out. The companies that deliver data as a product see higher innovation metrics across a couple of different attributes. So just with that foundation in place, I wanted to open things up for a little poll of the audience to see where you all are in your data products journey. So let me just stop sharing here, I think, and bring up the poll. Bear with me. All right, so we're going to open this poll. And I saw a question from somebody. Yes, this is being recorded. And let me just hit share it. There we go. All right. So is everybody able to access that poll? Should be able to put in some responses here. It looks like it's updating now in real time. Excellent. Okay, so the options here are, as you can see, just learning what data products are. Maybe that's why you came on today. Maybe you're thinking about it, haven't really figured out how to implement it. Which is about 36% of you so far. Some of you have already started on that data products journey, about 32%, and around 5% have data products in place today. Very good. So just leave it open for a couple more seconds. Some people are still getting their morning cup of coffee, waking up. I get it. All right, good. So pretty good balance, but people are planning to implement data products in majority or have started at about 70%. Some people just starting on that journey, not very many people, one vote for having data products in place today. So thanks for that little exercise. I will close that poll and go back to the slides. So just let me do that again. All right. Make sure it comes through. Excellent. All right, and without further ado, Nathan, thank you again for joining us today. We'll turn it over to you, and please just share your insights and everything that you're doing there at Kenvue. Appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you for the introduction, Steve. Hi, everyone. My name is Nathan Caplan, and I am a lead analyst for the Kenvue Data Catalog, which is hosted on Alation. And let's go to the next slide. Perfect. So my background is I started off as a data engineer after grad school, after going to grad school at NYU. And I was working for a company called the Coleridge Initiative. After working there for 3 years as a data engineer, who also happened to wear many hats. And part of those hats, one of those hats was data cataloging. I then moved over to a role at Johnson & Johnson Consumer Healthcare, where I was working full-time with our Alation data catalog. For those who are unfamiliar, Kenvue is actually Johnson & Johnson's consumer healthcare company spinoff. So there was no, while there was a transaction, my role was the same between the two companies. Next slide, please. And so who is Kenvue? Kenvue is a, like mentioned before, is formerly Johnson & Johnson's consumer healthcare company. And we were the company that was responsible for all these different brands such as Neutrogena, Benadryl, Aveeno, OGX. Many of these brands you're probably familiar with and maybe even use. And with that, we are a company that also is very data centric. We have a lot of data products that we build based on data regarding these regarding these products, whether it be related to marketing or who sells our products. Next slide, please. So with that said, I want to take a step back and look at my career over time as it relates to data cataloging. Like I mentioned before at the Coleridge Initiative, I wore many hats, one of which was cataloging. Very early on in my career there, I was exposed to my first cataloging tool, AWS Glue Catalog. And some of you on this call might be familiar and say, hey, that's a ETL tool. And yes, it is. It's an ETL tool that's coupled with a cataloging option. And business at the time was interested in using that catalog to expose metadata to our customers. And upon using that tool and really becoming a SME in it, I learned that it was really a metadata exposure tool. You were able to see a data model, and you were able to get a sense of a bird's eye view of all your metadata in a one-stop shop. And that has value, do not get me wrong. But business wanted something that was business friendly, and it was very tech speak heavy. And so we weren't able to use that as a metadata management tool that we were hoping to. So we went ahead and moved forward with another tool called Informatica EDC. And this was definitely a significantly jump in terms of usability by our end users. And we were able to document metadata. We were able to have a better UI for end users to search for metadata and documentation, but it was still very tech heavy. It was still leaning on the technical objects. And it wasn't until I transitioned over to Johnson & Johnson and using Alation that I found that we were able to finally document the why of data well beyond just documenting your columns and your tables and your schemas. We were finally able to really explain why the data product exists and what additional information you might be wanting to find out from it. Next slide, please. And so when it came to data cataloging in my previous organization at the Coleridge Initiative, I was working directly with both business owners and technical owners. And it was a really small scale environment, a very small organization. We were a startup. We didn't have to, definitions regarding data didn't have to go through multiple people. Whereas in a much larger organization like Kenvue, on a day-to-day, I'm working with people who may be the last of several people who have touched information regarding this data, whether it be metadata standards, documentation, or working with the data itself. And so we have about 5 different flavors of ownership, and so that we add to the catalog and monitor. And so it was definitely much more of a challenge to make sure that the definitions that we were putting into the catalog were usable by both business users, but also technical users. Whereas I was previously working with 2 teams that were really good at working together to make sure that they were aligned on standards and documentation. That was not the case when coming to J&J. Next slide, please. So in 2024 and going through into 2025, we decided we needed to make a change. And the reason being is because as new teams are setting up and building their data products, they are setting up these databases or using existing databases, and massive amounts of metadata is flowing into the catalog. We're talking millions of columns, millions of tables, hundreds, if not thousands of schemas, and it becomes quite overwhelming. It's great that we, have all this metadata in a one-stop shop, but if you're not able to find what you're looking for, it becomes really difficult to process. And as an end user, you're not going to feel inspired to want to continue using the data catalog. There needs to be a guided approach in your data catalog and to assist end users to find what they're looking for. Ideally, you should only be using a set number of you should only have to do a set number of clicks, ideally 3, maybe 4, before you by the time you find something. So, but find what you're looking for, excuse me. So we needed to redesign how users are using the catalog so that way they can truly find what they are looking for. Next slide, please. And so these are just some of the most common questions I would get from both technical and business users alike. I would say more so from our business users. And within a data community, you're going to have both the business owners and business analysts, business users, as well as the more technical data scientists and data engineers. But even then, you will still have questions like these, and I'm sure many of you on this call can relate to some of these questions. Very early on in my career at J&J, I had a VP ask me, where can he find a certain data product? And I didn't know what that data product was because no schema, no table, no columns were named what he was referring to. And there was no additional metadata curation that was matching what he was looking for. And it turns out that it was because we did not have a page dedicated to the data product. We did not have the information that he was asking for documented anywhere in a more business-friendly way. And because the technical documentation did not map to what he was referring to, it just did not exist within the catalog, even though the tables and the BI reports that we were scanning and we had their metadata in the catalog. So there was a disconnect. Next slide, please. And that disconnect being is that tech speak does not equal business speak. You are going to run into issues consistently if your tech community is driving documentation on the data catalog without input from business. The two have to go hand in hand together. If you only are working with one, the other team will not be able to connect their metadata and their documentation over to what the other is documenting. Next slide, please. Excellent. With that said, we came up with a solution at the time, which was to document data products. So we have a data product, or what we call a solution page, in the data catalog, and that is a term page. It is a template page, and what it does is it draws in both business and technical documentation into a one-stop shop. I'm sure many of you have referred to a data catalog itself, and I definitely have already on this call, as a one-stop shop. This is the one-stop shop within that one-stop shop. This is your centralization of all relevant documentation, whether it be the data sources, the actual technical metadata that you're linking, or the BI sources like Tableau or Power BI report metadata that you're bringing in. Being able to put that documentation and centralize it per that singular data product. Similarly, what we encourage here at Kenvue is to also link your relevant SharePoint, Confluence, Jira links, external links, and make them available on the data product page. So that way you don't have to have duplication of effort in documenting your data products. If your business community is looking at documentation for a data product on SharePoint, put the link, make it available either in the external link section or the description section. And that way you only have to document once on the SharePoint site, and it's available on the data product page within the catalog. Similarly, we have additional term pages that are templates in addition to our data product template, being business functions, metrics, and key data elements, or critical data elements, as many of you might call them. And we wanted to make sure that you know what is a data product from the beginning. It really is a collection of key fields, critical data elements, and then you build up from there. So you have your critical data elements, you have your KPIs that are built off those. Those collections of those fields are what make a data product. So knowing how the data product is, what is the foundation of the data product, is incredibly critical. That is where you define the what and the why of your data product, as well as the who. And then finally, what we also wanted to include recently, available with the data governance application, is policies. Being able to document your policies relevant to your data products, whether it be row level access controls, column maskings for whether there's PII in your data product, knowing whether or not there's regional information in your data product in case, say, that there's unauthorized access to the data product, and you need to alert users, subjects that might be involved in that. That is critical to being documented and made available for your data within your data product. So we've worked together to centralize this information and then expose that to both our technical and business users in a guided navigation. We have customizable homepages as well as left-handed navigation that we encourage you to utilize, so that way you can drill down from the very high level of your data product, whether it be at a functional or regional level or at a domain level, and then drill down through your data products, drill down into those key data elements. Next slide, please. So I kind of touched on a couple of those just as we're moving to this slide on best practices, but it's all about making sure that it's intuitive and easy to use. Like I mentioned before, we were encountering users getting very frustrated searching for their data product documentation, and we pushed forward more with a guided navigation approach. So with left-handed navigation and with a customizable UI, your homepage UI, you're able to very easily put the data products in front of your end users. And I know Steve will be going to that a little bit more with the marketplace as well. And making sure that, again, business and technical teams are involved. We want to make sure that those teams are both contributing to the documentation. We currently highlight business documentation up front, and then we focus on the technical documentation lower down on the page. And you'll see an example of that a little bit later. And then followed by, we want to make sure that everything is interconnected. And we will go into this a little bit later, but ensuring that you are stitching together relevant documentation and really defining almost like your organization, your org structure as it relates to data products. So that way it becomes really easy to jump between data product documentation and other functions, as well as identifying what's been reusable. If your critical data elements is a member of multiple data products, what you're finding out is, hate to use the word critical again, but you're able to find out very quickly which are truly your critical data elements of your full list by identifying how many of them are truly reusable amongst different teams. And I just want to quickly look at the Q&A really quickly. I see a question I just want to quickly answer, if that's all right. But the question is, how many data products did you build before you and your stakeholders found them useful? Incredibly, I'm very glad you asked this question, because that is because we started off with our big rocks, or OKRs, if you will. We started with those, and as teams started to see which were our big rocks, and I would say we started off with about 4 of them to begin with, and immediately those big rocks, people from those same functions but worked on different teams who were building different data products went, I need to build something similar. And it grew from there. So for example, we had a big rock regarding ESG that we needed to document, and it kicked off a whole process of incorporating DQI measurement also coming directly from the catalog. We were interested in parallel teams within that product function were interested in documenting as well. And now I could say we have over 13 data products built in Alation now. So just with a small 4, we now have over 70 data products documented. So with that said, next slide. I'll definitely save more for the Q&A section, but I just thought that was a very, I would say that was related to best practices. Excellent. So with that said, we have, when it comes to implementing this sort of best practices, how do you go about doing it? I mentioned previously terms, and that's where we started. We started with term templates, where we had 4 key term templates that fit within glossaries. Now, a term could be a member of multiple glossaries, but where Alation's moving to with, and if you are not over on ACS yet, you still have access to Document Hub. So it's available both on customer managed and on ACS. You have the capability to use Document Hubs. Document Hubs is a newer way of documenting where you have greater customization in organizing your documents, as well as having parent-child relationships. And it also introduced a new object within Alation called folders. And I'm just going to go ahead and I have a link that I'm going to just put in the chat regarding Document Hubs, so that way you can catch yourself up on if you have not yet had the opportunity to. Document Hubs allows you to really move, it enables greater structure and greater compartmentalization. So if you have a function and you have a sub-function, and within that sub-function you have multiple teams that are then building data products, imagine you could have a document serving as your data product that fits in those different sub-functions, sub-team folders. It really allows you to almost detail your team structure and organizational structure, and really help users understand who owns what within your company when it comes to data products. Next slide, please. So I want to just quickly jump to jump to ontology and what is the importance of that. In the previous slide, seeing that relationship between, there's the parent, then there's the child, then there's the child node after that, that would be more of a taxonomy. But when it comes to ontology, it's really being capable of defining the who, what, and why, and as they relate to each other within the, and particularly in this example, being in the data catalog. So being able to define those relationships between the who, what, and why in the data catalog is where you get the most business value. It's where you're able to define, like I mentioned before, reusability. How are key data elements reusable amongst data products? Being able to understand then from there, what are your most critical data elements, or what are your most valuable critical data elements within your organization? Similarly, you'd be able to define the who's. You're able to identify business product owners, technical product owners, data owners, business owners for key data elements, data stewards. This is all about the who of data. And then you also have the what, which is that structure, whether it be your org structure that you're defining with Document Hubs, whether it be parent-child relationships, knowing who, what is the data source for all of these different data products? Are they coming from multiple sources, or are they single sourced? Being able to answer those questions, and you're able to shake it up. Those are just some examples that we've done here at Kenvue, but your organization might have different questions that they want you while you're using the data catalog, and utilizing something called object sets, and that's another thing I'm just going to put into the chat really quickly, is how between object sets and people sets is how we've linked all these different concepts together within the data catalog, and it's how we were able to create this ontology graph, if you will, between the who, what, and why. Next slide, please. So with that said, we're just going to be showing some examples. Something to keep in mind, these are Alation examples. You should be able to go to Hedgie, which is a new feature on Alation. I'll also put that into the chat. And if you don't have access to Hedgie yet, all you have to do is create an account on Alation support. So just going to put that into the chat here, where you would be able to review and go through Document Hubs. So just for some context, we're looking at 2 different Document Hubs, and this is on the new UI that is available on ACS, which is Alation's cloud offering. So these here are 2 Document Hubs, and within them you could already see that in the top one that there are some folders. You could denote that by the folder icon on the left-hand side of the hyperlinked object, and then there's folders and documents in the bottom Document Hub, Data Product Document Hub. Next slide, please. So with that said, here is a data product. And you might be going, hey, Nathan, this is just it's a wiki page. And yes, that's exactly it. It is a wiki page with key 3 panels. On the right-hand side, you have metadata relevant to the data product. On the center pane, you have more, I would say, business-friendly and rich text documentation, metadata regarding the data product. And then on the left-hand side, you have your guided navigation. So the guided navigation allows you to drill down further and further to child objects, eventually going from your data product to, say, other than child objects. And then in the center pane is where you're going to get a lot of the what and the why, as well as on the right-hand side of the data product, as well as the who. Next slide, please. So here, this is something I would say is very critical, is like I mentioned before, your critical data elements are your leaves, where your data products are the branches attached to your organizational trunk of the tree, of your data tree. And so being able to highlight what are the critical data elements, like you see here with these columns, is incredibly critical for both your business and your technical teams. Your business teams need to know what are the fields that are relevant to the data product and need to know certain standards regarding them as it relates to, say, data quality. Whereas your technical teams might be hoping for additional context as it comes to building new data products or data models. So this really here is how you would be able, by populating this information on a data product page, it allows you to expand your own data literacy while also enabling future development of data products by exposing this information. Next slide, please. Something I really like about this is that you get to see, this slide here is that you get to see an object set in use. So this is the bridge between business objects and technical objects, where this list of tables down at the bottom, this is where you're able to truly get the most value of, I would say, Alation, using the object sets, being able to allow your users to go through the business documentation, gather as much information as they can, and then as a business user, they can stop, or as a technical user, they can continue onward, click that link down at the bottom, and be brought to a table page where someone will have documented that table, added additional metadata, as well as learn more about the data model of that table, learn more about the data model of that, say, that schema or that data source. But again, that's more for the technical users. I would say a common misconception I had when I started is that, and similar to when that VP was asking me about a data product, is that you would believe that there was a one-to-one mapping. All the fields for that table are going to be used in that data product, and that's not the case. You could very easily have just a few columns being used from a single table that are used to build a data product. So it's incredibly helpful to be able to compare the data product to the tables that are being linked and say, what are we pulling from these tables that ends up being this data product? It's incredibly critical to know that it's not always a one-to-one mapping, and that that's why you need to have these pages to really explain that to your business users, because if they were just looking at the technical, they would not be able to see their data product amongst those tables outright. And in addition to that, I just want to highlight as well that you can see the who on the right-hand side, being able to very quickly identify who are the key stakeholders when it comes to this data product, who are the people that can go to and 5 questions. You could either then quickly email them, message them on, say, either on Teams or Slack, or start a conversation with them, which is an Alation feature of being able to communicate directly with the owners of these data products. It's a fantastic feature, and I use it a lot. Excellent. So with that said, I'm just about to wrap up. And in the end, Alation is going in the right direction when it comes to data products. They've allowed greater dynamic documentation capabilities that really help you mimic your organization structure and really your data infrastructure from both a technical and business sense. And then what do you do after that? You need to make sure that your data products can then be found. And between the customizable homepage UI and the left-handed navigation, Alation is moving in the right direction in doing so and is implementing successful ways of finding data product documentation. but they're taking it one step further, and they are working towards now a marketplace, which I think will be very beneficial to many of us. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you, Nathan. And we had a couple good questions come in. Maybe we'll just grab one to start, and then I'll close things out. And so this is one you and I have been talking about a lot, and it actually came up at our customer advisory board back in the fall. It's from Lindsay. Let's see if I can go ahead and share this on the screen for everybody. And you can read it, but I'll read it out loud. I'm struggling to find an owner for data products. I have CDE owners, but the stewards are skeptical of the support model for data products. How are you handling data product ownership within Kenvue?
Excellent question. So CDE owners and data product owners are very typically in our organization different people. And it's great that you're actually identifying the CDE owners, because I've definitely encountered situations where it's challenging to find the CDE owner, but we have the data product owner. I find that the data product owners, there's two. You're going to have a BPO and a TPO, technical product owner, business product owner. And the business product owner is the one giving the business requirements, that for what is being built. And then the technical product owner is translating that into tasks that is then being handed off to the implementation team to build. So those are the two people that I have to find. So if you're able to, based on those definitions, find those individuals for a single data product, those are the people that you would then have as accountable on the data product page.
Excellent. Thanks for that. Thanks for the question as well, Lindsay. Great. So I want to talk a little bit about data products marketplaces, how to get started, and then we'll open things up for Q&A. So just to level set, we've talked about this in concept, but a data products marketplace is really a place where data consumers can go to find those curated, documented assets that are approved for use for specific business functions and decision making. It's also a place where the data producers can go and get the visibility into how the data is being used, who's using it, what questions are being answered, and get the feedback, as Nathan was talking about, collaboration around how to improve it, what else is missing within that data product to continue to optimize it. Governance teams love them because they can have all the standards and regulations in place, the policies for the data assets, and visibility across that, as well as lineage and auditing capabilities. And then, as we talked about earlier, the CIO and CDOs view marketplaces as a place that not only the end users can go, but we need to be able to deliver data as a product through APIs as well, because more and more business applications and autonomous agents now will be dependent on this contextual data to help make better decisions and inform the reasoning models behind the LLMs and things like that. So it's really important to have this curated place to go to get the correct and trusted information. And we really think of that as a new data operating model, in that we're thinking about how do we deliver data as a product and have this result-driven product mindset for aligning teams around the business outcomes, not just creating a data lake and putting a BI tool on top and say, have at it, but how do we really make sure that we're driving to business outcomes, managing data as a product, tied to measurable business value, and continuing to evolve those products based on the stakeholder needs and usage, as we've talked about. So we're essentially turning data chaos into these trusted data products through metadata to help increase that data understanding, the literacy that Nathan referred to, making it easy to discover these reusable data products, empowering both people and applications, and ultimately driving business wins from that and ensuring that we have the alignment. So in support of that, in last month, we announced a number of major product announcements. Some of this came out of the consensus with our customers around what's most important. In particular, with the AI age that we're in, we've really doubled down around the agentic capabilities within our platform. We've always been a machine learning driven application. When we founded the data category, or the category of data catalogs about 12 years ago, with things like the auto titling lexicon. And we've added more in terms of suggested descriptions, other agents around data quality, which is part of our new native data quality solution that will be launching later this year, as well as some new capabilities around data products marketplaces themselves. So we're very excited to be using AI agents within our platform to help data stewards and data owners automate a lot of the mundane tasks to help them scale the curation of data assets and ensure that they're aligned to business value, but also unlocking that context within the metadata, within the platform that your organizations have through a new AI agent SDK, which allows us to integrate with the model context protocol, which has become a standard that Anthropic has sponsored as early as November of last year. OpenAI is now picking that up. I think last week at Google Cloud Next, or whatever it's called, they announced a new A2A agent protocol. So we want to continue to innovate and integrate with those systems so that as people are building agents, they're also able to get the context that's really critical to ensure that these reasoning engines are not hallucinating. So pretty excited about those announcements. Now I'll just double click a little bit into the data products marketplace itself. This is an evolution that makes it even easier for organizations to build, manage, and deliver data as a product, evolving that flexibility that Nathan talked about with document hubs and providing more of an out-of-the-box experience that allows you to create this marketplace of structured data products where there's automatic certifications, there's sample data, there's clear usage policies. You can see the green check boxes there in terms of each key piece that will be part of those data products, which allows us to put in place centralized standards like we talked about, this whole paradox between speed and trust. Make sure we have the centralized standards in place around access provisioning, quality scoring, and are applying that consistently while still enabling those decentralized teams to have control, create their own data products, but provide clear accountability baked within that. And that's really going to help business users find and trust the right data quickly, ensure that the governance policies are in place, but also support the AI automation and things that I've talked about a couple of times now. One of the quotes we had from a customer at the advisory board was that we'll let humans use data assets, but AI is only going to use data products because they want to ensure that anything that's automated is absolutely getting the right context from that information, whereas a human can fill in the gaps sometimes. So that's really important as you think about data products and powering agentic applications. And then as a data product manager, you also want to get that visibility. So this is a screenshot of the upcoming data products marketplace where those data product managers or stewards can get deep visibility into what's happening with the product, who's using it, what are the use cases they're trying to accomplish, and what queries are not being answered. So this is this feedback loop between the different types of owners that Nathan had called out. And if you're wondering how to get started, we of course also have experience, expertise, and a data products playbook, which is part of our professional services offering, where we can come in, work with you on establishing this data product operating model to define the data products and the life cycle, the ownership within your organization around roles and responsibilities to support and build a prototype and make sure that we've got the right measures for success in place. We have different frameworks such as our data catalog value index, data culture maturity assessment, and other tools that we can use to come in and help assess where you are today, help map out those next steps, whether it's just getting your critical data elements defined or take the next step and evolve that into data products and data products marketplace. So just to wrap things up, some of the key takeaways that Nathan hit on today is, number one, we want to be able to bridge that gap between business and technical users. Again, I've been in the industry for a long time. I've worked for self-service BI tools and all of that. And I think we continue to evolve into this curated area where people really need to have a partnership between IT and business. And I think marketplaces and data products is a great way to bridge that gap between the business and the tech speak, as Nathan pointed out. So it's documenting not just the data, but the meaning. Who's it for? What's it used for? And why does it matter? Second is structuring your catalog around products, not just raw data assets. And that's really a better way to organize into a curated business-ready set of packages for real-time or real business use cases grouped by business domain or purpose. You can use folders, object sets, document hubs, as Nathan referred to, just making it easier to find what matters quickly. And of course, the last point is just really defining who, what, when, and why of data products too. So having that clear ontology, as Nathan pointed out, across business function, data products, the elements and metrics, and ensuring that you have ownership at each level. And this is really helping with the accountability, improving governance, making it easier to trace the lineage and impact, and really providing that foundation for scalable reuse and trust of data across your organization. So we've got exactly 15 minutes left. Nathan, our prep has really paid off here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up kind of a closing slide here, and we can go into some more Q&A. Of course, we have some other assets that people want to get up to speed. We have a best practices guide through this white paper of the 10 key attributes of data products. This is based on experience that our professional services team has had with customers over the years. There was a great conversation we had with a number of CDOs from Citi, Sobeys, and 84.51 earlier in January, and then some other assets here that are available. I think Diana is also going to push a survey to you all so we can get your input on how to improve these webinars going forward. And with that, I'm going to start to pull out some questions from the Q&A. One that I flagged earlier is, I guess, oh no, we answered the ownership one. The next one down the line here is, with respect to emerging and changing AI applications landscape, do you see major changes to how data is being curated as you adapt? I wonder if you could comment on how this affects your architecture. I don't know, Nathan, if that's something you've got perspective on in terms of different business applications or potentially AI within Kenvue and what you're allowed to share, but do you have a perspective on that question?
As of right now, yes. So we are, I would say, we're definitely interested in documenting our AI products in a similar manner. As of right now, they are still data products. They are still, the foundation is still the same based on your critical or key data elements. And whenever we're saying CDE, that's critical data element, or if I'm saying KDE, that's key data element. They're the same thing, just two different acronyms meaning the same thing. Their foundation is still based on a collection of data fields somewhere within your data repositories. And as a result, we still are of the opinion that the way we've been documenting data products, whether they're an AI product or not, is still applicable.
Excellent. Thanks for that. And thanks for the question, Francis. Let me grab the next one here. I guess you answered one of these in text. Maybe we could just call it out.
That's fine.
That's all right for folks. Do you have a process to keep data products updated? What automation do you foresee to avoid having data products become outdated? If you want to just rehash that.
One of the things that we're working and continuing to work on, and right now we don't have this as an enterprise-wide, but we are encouraging our TPOs to find ways to incorporate data cataloging into the SDLC. It's with that you would be able to continuously, as updates to the data products are changing, then they will be adding cataloging for that particular task. So say a key data element or column in this case is removed from the data product. It's removed from the table that's being read for building the BI reports relevant to that data product. That would be a ticket, and there would be also assigned a ticket regarding cataloging that change. So if there's a key data element on the data product page in the catalog and that column was dropped in the table, we would then have a ticket so that way they would know to remove that from the data product page. Similarly,
sorry, go ahead, Nathan, please.
Just similarly, if there is a change in people, similar if there's a change in, if there's a new report, it's all about just what's new gets added, what's old gets dropped, and those will be ideally in the form of tickets.
Got it. Thank you. I was just going to add a point that on the back end, there's also a metadata extraction engine that we have. So that's an automated way to keep the metadata current within this different BI tools and databases that we're connecting to. So that's automated on the back end for the most part, but functionally on the front end, what Nathan said is the right way to approach that. I think we've answered all the questions verbally. There was one other on whether we offer training courses for consultants and data analysts, just to call it out. Yes, we do through Alation University. Online, you can get a number of different training courses and certifications that are available. So please check that out. And I can drop a link into the chat here as well. Well, with that, we've ended punctually. Again, really appreciate you, Nathan, the time that you took to engage with us, to talk through this, to prepare and share all of your knowledge with the audience today. I hope everybody got a lot out of it, and just really appreciate the time that you took to do this, given all of your day job activities I know you have managing the Alation catalog there at Kenvue. So thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. Again, we will make this recording available to you, as well as the assets that we shared on the screen today. And if you have any questions, please reach out. Thanks and have a great week.